This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Whitmer here, and welcome into another episode of Heel Talk, brother. I'm joined with the Mega Powers, brother. We're going with Soapy Mother, brother, Soapy Muffin brother,
Soapy
Mother, brother,
Soapy Mother,
Soapy Mother, brother, father, sister, aunt, uncle, brother. Soapy, how you doing,
brother?
Brother,
I'm doing all right. I think that's the first time I've ever been called Soapy Mother before. That's we've hit a new one.
You're a real Soapy Mother, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, I've had the thing of where, like, people's moms can't say, like, when they hear someone say, like, oh, I'm talking to Soapy, they think they're talking to, like, oh, you mean Sophie? It's like, no.
Sophie? Oh.
It has happened so many times. It's so funny. Because I still think the funniest one. I have to share the story. So, put this in perspective, all right? Let's set the scenery. Me and a couple of my friends, we are 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
All right? You know, so we're in prime, like, just starting to talk to girls territory. And my friend, not name names.
Talk to girls or attempt to talk to girls, get too shy, and then go,
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hi. Ooh, I said hi.
Ooh. But, you know, my friend, to avoid calling him his actual name, let's call him Liam.
Sure. Please tell me that was his actual name.
No.
To avoid his actual name, let's call him Liam. And his actual name is Liam.
Yeah, let's call him his actual name.
Oh.
But Liam was the most nervous out of all of us because Liam kind of had, like, a lot of, like, social anxiety and stuff. So,
all nerds do.
Yeah. But basically, you know, we're sitting there and we're playing, I think it's like Halo Reach or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And for some reason, mind you, Liam knows me in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he knows my name is Brandon. So he's like, for some reason, no one I know calls me by my name.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. So, he's saying, like, oh, Soapy, come here, do this. And he's doing that. His mom is mishearing him in the room next to him and thinks that he's saying, oh, so Sophie, come here. And we hear his mom over his mic, like, oh, you're talking to Sophie? And he's like, who's Sophie?
Who's Sophie?
And his mom, like, mind you, I love his mom. His mom is such a sweetheart. She oversteps boundaries sometimes. She's like, well, can I talk to Sophie? And he's like, Mom, it's not a girl.
It's not.
So his
it's
mom,
not a
like,
girl.
You hear his mom, like, take his head to be like, hi, Sophie. I'm like, hi, Liam's mom.
Hi, Liam's mom.
Where, you know what? At this point, his mom, anytime that he even says a name that sounds, you know, even somewhat close to feminine, she just assumes it's me now.
Yeah. Are you his effeminate friend?
Apparently.
Are you Tyler Breeze? Are you a part of Fandango? A part of Pretty Deadly?
I may be a part of the Fashion Police.
Are you a sexy boy?
No.
No,
I think I'm the farthest from that.
But Soapy, remember, you're not my boy toy. Ooh, I'm not your boy toy. But Soapy, this is Heel Talk, brother. As we talk wrestling is what we talk about. We got an interesting show today because you texted me today and we're like, hey, what are we going to talk about? And I went, what are we going to talk about? Because we're in this kind of, I'm going to get to housekeeping and the rest of the intro in a second, but we're in an interesting time where we like AEW, okay, they just got done with Revolution. We're in the post-Sting era. We're in the Okada era. And let's be completely honest. Everything for AEW, the news that's going to break from it will be the day after you guys are seeing. You guys will see this podcast. Like, patrons, basic membership, join it down below, can watch this live as we're recording it. But everybody else is seeing this at Tuesday, a day before Big Business in Boston, Soapy, where I'd be surprised if a certain Boss Time doesn't show up in Boston
I hope they don't come out with boss time. Please don't.
But
I don't want to deal with it again.
the news for AEW, it's like, okay, it's probably going to happen after big business. For WWE, we're in WrestleMania season. Like, yeah, there's some news like, well, will John Cena have a match? Who should John Cena go against in that match? But literally, we pretty much know the feuds that are going to happen. Apparently, tonight on Raw, as we're recording this, Aldis and AP, Adam Pearce, are going to have a joint announcement. I'm assuming that's the tag announcement that we're waiting for. Hopefully, and you guys will probably, you're seeing this after Raw has happened. Hopefully, it is them taking the tag belts apart again, putting one on SmackDown, one on Raw, so we can have 2 tag team champs again. Hopefully.
If only. We can only hope.
I'll ask you this. Is it the introduction of the Women's Intercontinental Championship when we get the first match at Mania? We get a battle royale for it.
I hope not.
Or wait, no, even better, Soapy. Here's the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Who's going to be in that match? Charlotte. She's back from injury. Mania. Because, you know, if there's a new championship, Charlotte's got to win it first.
Yeah, if there's blood in the water, you know Charlotte's right around the corner.
Is it going to be the tag belts?
I hope it's the tag belts.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to introduce a new women's belt, like, wait till after Mania.
Okay.
Like, just in my personal opinion. It's just wait till after Mania, so then that we can have it so, you know...
It's not rushed.
I at least know, am I going to have to watch Judgment Day or whoever beats Judgment Day for the tag belts? Okay, do I have to watch Awesome Truth come out with 4 belts?
Probably.
Gross.
Gross. But before we get into everything, let me go through the housekeeping. Number 1, if you're not in the Discord, greatest community universe, join it down below. We got sports chats, wrestling chats, entertainment chats, everything in the Discord for everyone, a part of the MVP army. Boom. Together in one spot. You can also in the description check out our Patreon page where basic members can watch this recording free and other awesome perks. Those are down in the description. Leave a comment down below for anything we talk about today. Hit that like button for the algorithm. Hit that sub button just because you love us and want to stay tuned to everything we got going on. But Soapy, we got 3 topics today. Before we get into the one that people see and clicked in for, and they're like, wow, it's been about 7 minutes and they still haven't talked about Brock Lesnar. That's why I clicked into this video. We'll get to that. But the first thing I want to talk about is kind of a small thing that I know only bothers me. And I pitched it to you, which is the Maxine Dupree drama that's going on. And I hate to say it, Soapy, but you even, I think, said this in the Discord of Dave Meltzer was actually spitting when it came to Maxine Dupree. So if you're living under a rock, everyone's mad at Maxine Dupree because, oh, she's a bad wrestler. She blotches all these spots. Why do they keep giving her TV matches? Give her time to someone else. The comment I hear from Dave Meltzer, apparently speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio about an incident, he stated that fellow superstars should be angry at the promotion. Said if you're a wrestler, get mad at the company for putting her in that position. Don't get mad at the fans. If the fans see a bad match, they've got the right to boo. And even if they see a good match, they've got the right to boo. There's a line, and now I think we're getting way too sensitive. I'm gonna get ripped on this, but it involves, because it involves women, but that's just my feeling. If you're a pro, blank, that's part of being a pro wrestler. And the blank in there was, he said JC, and I'm just going to leave that out for my own reasons. But Soapy, he kind of went after people like Rhea Ripley. That's like, stop, don't boo her. You have no right to boo her. Where do you, before I give my thought, I want to know, where do you stand on this with the Maxine Dupree? Should fans be more understanding? Should they not? What's your kind of take on this?
Well, I do agree with Meltzer I definitely think it's I'm trying to find the correct way to word it, so I don't just come off as like the super douche that I know I'm going to come off sounding like. To me, personally, I think that the main thing to take away from the Maxine Dupree stuff is to show that like wrestlers don't tolerate you just absolutely stinking anymore, or like fans don't tolerate it. And realistically, I understand Maxine Dupree hasn't been wrestling that long, which fine, entirely fair. But then my question becomes, why is she then traveling in the main circuit of the main roster and having matches instead of just being in the performance center working on the basics? Because Jade Cargill's been signed for what, a year, and I've seen her once. So like, why do we have it that Maxine is stinking it up here when she's very clearly not ready to have full-time matches? And then she's being paraded out, and stinking up the place, and then people aren't enjoying it. Like, I fully understand where people come from when they say, like, oh, like, some people are being too mean, which, realistically, yes, there are people saying some mean stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's people who take it too far in every single medium ever. You can't avoid it. Like, if people who are making, like, comments that are, like, just nothing related to wrestling, yes, obviously, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes to, like, the Rhea tweet of Rhea was like, I'd like to see people come to your guys' places of work and boo. And it's like, well, I mean, Rhea, some people work in fast food and they have people throw at them.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things of, like, it sucks that it happens, and I guarantee it probably sucks having people tell you that you suck. I understand. I mean, I barely work around other people and I hear so it's, I understand, like, I don't understand to the full extent, but I know what it's like, when someone tells you you're bad at your job. I understand. But it's also, fans have the right to boo. They paid to have fun. If you actively went against their enjoyment, they're within every right to boo. Do I think some of them overstepped the boundary? Yes. Do I think that someone saying you suck is overstepping the line? No. And otherwise, the bar for criticism's so far below rock bottom.
Well, it's like you can't criticize that anymore. And that's not like, I hate to be this guy. We also live in a country of free speech. And like, when I say free speech, I don't mean free of consequence. I don't mean that. Like, if you say something truly awful, you should be shunned for it. But like, I'm talking about the booing. Fans have the right to boo. Fans have the right to show displeasure because they're the consumer here. They're the one consuming the product. Here's where I stand on the situation. The part I agree with the most is when he says, and I don't think it shouldn't just be if you're the wrestler, if you're the fan too, you should be mad at this. Get mad at the company for putting her in this position. I haven't had a problem with the Maxine Dupree debacle, I guess, or the like inexperience, because me as a wrestling fan, I don't mean to sit here and be like, I'm a smart wrestling fan and you are not, because that's not what I mean. But I think people have to look at it too. Think about the gimmick she's in right now. Inexperienced wrestler, a part of the Alpha Academy. She is a wrestler that is learning from Chad Gable's Alpha Academy to be a better wrestler. To me, maybe that was, I'm thinking that was their thought. Hey, let's put her with Alpha Academy. First thought, you got to put her with Otis because you got to put Otis with a hot chick because people find that funny. That's number one. Number two is, let's put an inexperienced wrestler in Alpha Academy and we could do the thing of like, oh, she's learning under Chad Gable to cover up any fault she has. Because like I mentioned to you before we hit the actual record button, the part of the live stream part that people saw but the podcast won't see, is if Maxine Dupree is, you mentioned Performance Center, which is interesting, meaning not on TV at all. But if she's on Raw or on NXT, what's the difference? What is the difference between NXT and Raw? Because they're building NXT to be a third brand. Yes, it's developmental wrestlers and wrestlers that aren't on a main roster, but it is a third show. So with me, I don't have a problem with her being in Alpha Academy, getting some TV time, because guess what? You can boo and say you don't like her match, but let's not put her on a pedestal where she has to be like Rhea. She has to be as good as Charlotte. She has to be as good as Becky. Hell, let's not even put her on a pedestal that she has to be as good as Raquel or Liv Morgan right now. Like, it's okay to see someone develop in front of your eyes. Difference between Jade Cargill and Maxine Dupree. Maxine Dupree can look bad, doesn't hurt her image. She gets better. People will love her. If Cora Jade comes out and throws an absolute stinker, she goes from being top hype star to, ugh, she sucks. And they can't afford for that to happen. Jade Cargill, that's what I was saying. I said Cora Jade, didn't I?
Sorry,
I meant Jade
wanted
Cargill.
to clarify.
Yeah, I meant Jade Cargill.
Yeah. And I mean, and I don't entirely disagree. I mean, my only thing is, though, and this is where I stand, like, with the NXT Raw thing.
Yeah.
Is, to me, I compare her situation very much to, like, what Dominic was. For anyone who knows, Dominic was not very good when he first got brought in.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because we saw Dominic kind of got to circumvent a lot of, the natural process because who his dad is.
Mm-hmm.
But, we see, like, to me, I compare a lot of the situation of, like, what Maxine did, compared to what happened with Dom. And to me, I also think it's the fact of, like, I do think, and I'm going to sound like a douche when I say it, and I don't care. Someone can call me a dick or something, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people coddle women's wrestlers a lot, because it feels like, and I'm saying this just as a genuine thing, it feels like they're held to a different standard, where, like, they're elevated a lot more in the sense of, like, oh, well, no, it's fine if you're not that great.
Yeah.
And then, because, like, for instance, like, have it to where, let's say, Dominic messed up anywhere near as bad as she does.
Boo!
We never...
Boo!
Yeah, like, Dom was getting death threats, like, his first 2 matches in the company. Yeah. Where it's like, obviously, I'm not condoning that to happen to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it just feels like there's a different pedestal that people sit on. And to me, I look at it as, like, Maxine Dupree is not free of criticism because she's still new to wrestling.
Yeah.
I just think that's an entirely different, like, to me, personally, I think that's just a stupid thing.
Yeah.
I also, it's the same sort of mentality of, like, and it kind of addresses when you had mentioned the, like, oh, that she's learning under Chad Gable. To me, I don't like when gimmicks are used as a way to explain why someone can't do something. It's the same sort of thing of, like, there was a picture that started circulating around Twitter of a good old Smoky Mountain Wrestling. If anyone knows this, you know exactly where this is about to go. Where they're like, oh, how to make someone a bad guy. Ricky, would you like to take a wild guess on what they did to try to make someone look like a bad guy?
They were racists?
I mean, partially.
They said
he
bad
came out
things?
with a swastika shirt.
Okay, yeah. Because
he came
Nazis
out
are
black
evil.
shirt with a swastika.
Yeah.
Like, with the Nazi flag on the front of it. And people are
Isn't
like,
that the
well, he's
ones-
just being a heel.
Isn't that the ones where I'm talking about? This is like 80s and 70s where it's like, yeah, we gotta sneakily get you out of the arena because there's a bunch of guys in the parking lot that actually want to kill you.
Yeah, like, this is back
They actually
in, like,
want to kill you for what you said.
Yeah, where, like, I look at it this way. To me, I have always hated when people are like, oh, well, they're a heel, they're a good guy, so that justifies it. It's like, no, there's a line of where it's like, no, you don't need to be, like, you don't need to be this to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, I look at it as Maxine is not ready to be on the main roster. She is more set to be, like, on NXT Level Up. Over, like, it's primarily those are people who are working in...
Oh, that's a demotion. Not even NXT. NXT Level Up.
I mean, the only thing is, though, am I wrong?
I would say NXT.
Like,
I think she's fine to be on NXT and learn there.
My only thing is, though, of just of how fast NXT's women's division is catching back up to where it used to be.
Good point.
Of where I'm like, she'd already be left in the dust again.
Good point.
To where my thing is, she needs to be around people that have the same similar skill level. Because realistically, like, yes, like, wrestling better wrestlers would make you better, and, and that's the thought process, but it doesn't work like that for everyone. Not everyone learns wrestling the same way. For instance, I hate that he's still employed by the company. Gable Stevenson still sucks.
Yeah.
Like, every report that ever comes out about him is they're like, yeah, he doesn't know how to be a wrestler. So it's like, to me, that's why, like, I just have the mindset of, like, start her back down at the bottom. She could still be on Raw traveling with, still traveling with them and be on TV with them so fans know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, don't have her on the independent show circuit for the main roster, and it's just because she's not ready for it.
Here's the thing, though, and this is kind of the last thing I'll say on it before we move over into Brock. You made a great point that I didn't even think about. Dominic Mysterio. And the reason why I say that, Soapy, is I don't know if you knew this, how perfect it is, or you just said it because, you know, you're smart. But so Dominic Mysterio made his debut August 23rd of 2020. He joined the Judgment Day, or the Judgment Day, the Mysterios began feuding with the Judgment Day in the summertime of 2022. 2 years, basically, because August is in the summertime. 2 years. God, my nose itches. 2 years after he made his debut. You look at Maxine Dupree. When did she make her debut? March of 2022. She was first in the valet role where she was with Von Wagner in NXT, and then she became Maxine Dupree for the maximum male models with LA Knight.
Yeah.
And then even after that. But she didn't join Alpha Academy until 2023. So if we think of this version of Maxine Dupree as Mysterio's Dominic Mysterio when he was with his dad, that means what? I almost think about it, should we give her 2 years to get better? Because I'll be honest, wrestling, right, like debuting 2 years ago, but not really wrestling, you're in a valet role for that first year, really only wrestling 1 year. How many people become perfect at their craft in a year?
Oh, yeah, no, and I do want to specify, I don't think that she needs to be perfect, because realistically, I don't think there's any perfect wrestler. My thing is that, like, she hasn't got demonstrably better yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because with Dominic, like you said, it took, like, the 2 years for Dominic to get to the point where people are like, oh, okay, Dom doesn't suck anymore.
And
but even that, Dom was still kind of that, like, he's got it still carried by his dad.
And that's why
it literally took till,
and that's why I was thinking
as well for Dom to grow into that.
Should they stick her in more mixed matches with either her or Chad, her or Otis? Kind of lean on that like they did with Dominic and Ray, where they were in a lot of tag matches and their feuds were together a lot of the time. Let's also be honest, I don't know. I think the Alpha Academy is getting ready for a split up because I think eventually they're going to push Chad Gable into single stardom, and you can't have an entire stable when you're trying to be a single star. Like you're just going to leave Otis and Maxine sitting there doing nothing. Let them then do their own things.
Yeah, it's like to me personally, I think when I compare her to Dominic is just because the fact of like they both kind of with relative inexperience in wrestling got put into like a similar position.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is though is also Dominic's base from what he came in at was so much better than Maxine.
Yeah, the floor was higher.
To me, like that's the thing. I think the floor is higher, and also it's just to be honest, the ceiling seems higher.
Yeah,
with Dominic, because I mean Dominic's still getting better. Like mostly because one, Dominic realized I'm not my dad. I don't have to wrestle like a luchador.
Yeah,
and that's worked perfect for him. Because as soon as he stopped trying to do that, notice Dominic just started getting so much better that he's like, yeah, I don't have to do all the stuff my dad does. Because one, Dominic, your dad's like 5'4.5". Yeah, like your dad is the size of a child.
Yeah, like, and that's why I say blame the production, not Maxine Dupree.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think that any of the personal attacks should be happening. There's a level of where it's like, okay, some people push it too far. Like, if just saying she's not a good wrestler, if that's what people think is too far, I don't want to see what you guys accept as criticism then. Because then realistically, no one gets better.
Yeah.
Because the thing is with wrestling, and especially just with entertainment in general, it's something that kind of like, this is where like wrestling entertainment cross a lot. If you suck at what you do, people will let you know. They are paying to see a good product. Like, let's say, I don't know, give me a random movie.
Any movie?
Yeah.
Liar, Liar.
All right, I gotta look up who's in Liar Liar
Jim
so I
Carrey.
could use it as an example.
Jim Carrey's in Liar Liar.
Yeah.
Mr.
So,
Deeds.
let's say, yeah, like so. Let's say, in Liar Liar, Jim Carrey stinks it up.
It's ironic.
Obviously,
That's
I
one of
know.
his best movies.
I know, but I'm using this as an example.
Yeah, I know.
But, like, let's say Liar Liar, Jim Carrey stinks it up.
Mm-hmm.
Should people not be allowed to criticize Jim Carrey because of what he did in the movie?
Oh, I completely agree. They should be able to criticize.
That's the thing. That's where a lot of the crossover between entertainment and wrestling comes in.
Yeah.
Of you may not be the main part of the movie. I mean, obviously, I know Jim Carrey's really important in Liar Liar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say he was a side character and he stunk it up. Is he free of criticism? Like the rest of the movie could be good, but if his part stinks, I'm going to remember that he stinks.
I got a better example than that.
Okay.
Daisy Ridley.
Yeah.
With the Star Wars movies. Like, some people say, oh, it's bad writing. Some people say it's her character. Like, even if it's bad writing, it's not on her. Is she free of criticism then?
Yeah. No, I don't. Like, that's
what
exactly
I think.
my
I
point.
just do that because I'm like, you're talking. I'm like, whoa, that's a way better. Like, that's an example that hit me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, that's a really good example of what I'm talking about, is that it always will blow my mind that people don't understand of you are not free of criticism. You are in the entertainment industry. Everything you do is under a microscope. It sucks, and I understand that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something of, if you want to be an entertainer, if you want to be someone that, is either directly involved in, making people money, being the reason that people go to shows, you are not exempt of criticism, whether you're 5 matches in or 150. Because, I mean, also notice for a while how bad people criticize Roman. Like, mind you, even, like, at the peak of people not liking Roman and, like,
how bad people still criticize Roman.
Yeah.
Bloodline
like,
sucks.
From the peak... Yeah, from, like, the peak of people hating him from, like, 2015 to 2018, Roman was getting death threats, he was getting all of this, like, he was basically, like, just people were saying every nasty thing they could about Roman. We never heard a peep about people being like, but guys, look, Roman, like, feel bad for Roman. Like, that's the reason why I said earlier that I feel like people are just put on different pedestals.
The sexist thing plays into it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make this like, oh, well, you guys only like Maxine because she's a girl. No, I'm not trying to do that at all. Like, I guarantee Maxine's a wonderful person outside of wrestling. Like, and that's the thing. I think everyone should be held to the same standard. And that's my entire thing. Yeah. It's, if one person is able to be criticized, everyone should be allowed to be criticized. You can't move the goalpost to like, well, she's only had 5 matches. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
Like, bring that up with WWE of like, hey, she's not ready for main roster. Send her back.
Yeah. And that's why I just said, that's why the biggest thing Meltzer said the truth, blame the promotion on both ends. But Soapy, let's take a segue into talking about the promotion, Brock Lesnar, because there were news over the weekend. I'm going to read this from Wrestle Talk. Over the weekend, whispers started online, which were then picked up by some outlets and reported as fact that Brock Lesnar had been re-added to the current WWE roster page on WWE.com. This was something that even some fairly big sites outside of the wrestling bubble reported on, as well as some within. However, we can state, and this is from Wrestle Talk, 100% clarity, this part they have in bold. Brock Lesnar was never removed from the current WWE roster page to begin with. Any reports saying that he been re-added to the page after being removed are not correct. He has been on that page the whole time and has not been taken off. Soapy, I'm just going to ask you, what are you thinking about when it comes to the whole Brock Lesnar stuff that's been going on this weekend? There's some people saying, oh, he's coming back to WWE. Oh, he's going to be in the WWE game. Oh, he's back on the page. But some saying, oh, he was never taken off. What are your thoughts?
It's such a weird situation because obviously, of the overarching kind of shadow that's over the company right now with the Vince stuff, And like it's the like he's not ever explicitly mentioned, but like there's two people who could fit the description, and he fits it way better than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's such a weird situation to where like I understand they never removed him, and like to me it very much felt like they were going to at some point, because
Yeah.
just I mean we saw how just quickly after the allegations had come out of how fast like he was taken out of things. He wasn't in intros anymore. He wasn't on all of this other stuff. I definitely think that they're kind of, and like I'm trying to take a neutral stance on it. Obviously, I have my own opinions on all of the stuff that's been happening. Like trying to take like the more neutral stance of like it feels like they're kind of testing the waters now of being like, hey, so are people gonna get like super upset if Brock comes back? Because I mean, also realistically, most fans aren't gonna care anyways.
Yeah.
But like they're kind of testing the waters to be like, okay, like how much is gonna get stirred up?
Mm-hmm.
Because like realistically, as I said, he was basically removed from a bunch of stuff, and now he's re-added.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's gonna be interesting. Definitely think that if he's coming back, I do think it's post-Mania. Mostly just because right now it feels like everything's kind of set up to be, set in, maybe not set in stone, but like everything's almost basically finally placed to where it's going to be. Excuse me, sorry, I had to burp.
You're good.
But it's like it feels like everything's kind of set up to where it's already going to be for Mania.
Mm-hmm.
Where I feel like just reintroducing Brock out of nowhere would feel pretty forced.
Yeah.
Or like I feel like it's the kind of testing the water, like drip feeding people like, hey buddy, look, Brock's back, and seeing like, okay, like basically it's like a pool of piranhas that like you drop something in the water, like you see like a few of them like swim up and react to like whatever got dropped in.
Mm-hmm.
Being like, okay, how much trouble do we get if he just comes back? And that's at least what it seems like to me. Like I said, I'm trying to stay neutral. As I said, I am opinionated on the Vince stuff.
Here's the thing that I thought, and I literally thought about this while I was. Me and Braun Breaker have something in common. I was thinking about this as I was taking my shower before the podcast, because I think about wrestlers in the shower. The Wolf Dogs. So we don't
Think about me in the shower.
Don't be worried. You're not Baron Corbin yet. I don't think about you, and I don't think about us in the shower.
All right.
The Wolf Dogs haven't come into play yet, but
yeah, the Wolf Dogs have not come into the head.
I was thinking about it, and my first thought is what the head of TKO said, or the UFC, the Emmanuel said, and we talked about, where basically anyone who is implicated in this and found guilty, you're gone, and you're never going to be a part of TKO. Like, for example, it was, if Trips is implicated and got charged with stuff, he'd be gone from WWE and never come back. And there's a part of me that goes, if this is the tea leaves of Brock coming back, then that means there's got to be something either we don't know, or like they found out information, like basically things that we don't know, because I don't think that Emmanuel would let WWE bring Brock back if there was any question of a doubt that he was implicated in this.
Yeah, I think it's more of since no charges have been put forward yet
against
for anyone
him
outside of Vince.
Well, it's what Vince, WWE, and Laurinaitis are the only three that are.
Yeah. Yeah, to where like he's just kind of like the byproduct of it, of like he's a person we know was involved, or at least suspectedly involved. I should speak in suspected.
Yeah.
Even though there's only one other person who's ever worked in the company who matches that description, and I'm pretty sure Cain Velasquez was in jail at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely think it's they're playing it in the like, well, he hasn't been charged yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he also hasn't been like named. So it's like like test the waters, see how much like reaction is. And for instance, if it comes out that he was, then obviously then yeah, he'll be gone. They won't bring him back.
Yeah.
Because especially, I will say, that is the thing that I love the most about with the TKO merger, is just the fact of they literally are like, yeah, no, like, we're not tolerating this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's completely kind of unrelated. Like, I do love that they're like, yeah, no, like, we do not care. Like, we don't care if, like, you've been loyal to this company for however long. Like, it's new management, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you got, like, 20 years here. Don't matter. Like, I definitely think, and obviously, if not, if,
Mm-hmm.
depending on court case, I don't want to speak as, like, definitives, because obviously, it may be years before anything actually, gets pushed forward into court.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, for anyone who knows the American court system, it is absolute hell.
Yeah.
We hear about something like 3 years before it actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely, I think that, like I said, I think it's just testing the waters to see, like, the reaction they'd get. And like I said, the average fan isn't really going to care. Like, if Brock was named, like, on a named basis, like, flat out stated in the allegation, I don't think he'd be coming back. But I think it's because they left it, I don't want to say open. I mean, we all figured it out pretty quickly who it was. But I definitely think that plays into it. Where I think at this point they're just going to be like, like, just throw Brock out there. If the fans don't like it, whatever, they can get over it.
Because like you said, there's only three people that kind of fit the description. The first one, I'm taking the first one out of it completely. Daniel Cormier. He was a special guest referee in that it was October of 22, but it was in that same time. That's probably off to the side. And then, like you said, it's either Cain Velasquez or Brock. Because Bobby was Bellator, right? Bobby was never UFC.
Bobby was Bellator.
The only UFC guy I can think of is Matt Riddle, but he was already with the company.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's also Matt Riddle was never a heavyweight champ.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why it's like, okay, you really narrowed the list down. Because if they said former UFC employee,
yeah,
there's like 30 of them.
Yeah.
Like, that's like throwing a ball into a ball pit and be like, all right, find that specific ball again.
Find that specific ball again.
Like, you can't.
Oh.
If you tell someone, like, find someone, like,
mm-hmm.
It's the same joke I used to make, like, when I would talk about old NXT, and people would be like, oh, that's all homegrown talent. I'm like, literally, like, every person on this roster is ROH. This is ROH 2.0.
That's all homegrown talent. What?
It's like, literally, I could just be like, all right, guys, I'll throw a WWE, or like, I'll throw like an actual Performance Center original into NXT, shuffle it around. I'll see if you can figure out who's who.
Yeah. Like,
to where if they had just said UFC talent or like UFC champion, weirdly enough, that does narrow it down a lot, but not a whole lot, because then that also then could imply like someone like Ronda. I think that's the only other person who gets added. Because now that I think about it, I don't think anyone else has been a UFC champ in the company.
I mean, I don't know if Sonya Deville was. I don't think she was.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think she was.
I don't think Sonya was. I don't think Shayna was. I mean, the rest of the doo-doo group that Shayna was a part of in NXT, I mean, none of them are there anymore.
The horsewomen.
Yeah, the second coming of the 4 horsewomen. And it's like, guys, you know there's more things than horses that we could name people after, right?
Yeah, to me, it's like, I don't know. If Brock comes back, I feel like that's a telling thing. Because I would think if he's implicated in any way, Emmanuel himself would not let him back in WWE.
Yeah.
That's just my...
Yeah, I think it's that there's the little bit of the stretch of, since he's not directly implicated by name. Also
innocent until proven guilty. Could it be that too?
I do want to specify that. Like, I'm not implicating Brock in anything. If it comes out he's innocent, cool.
I hate to say this. You have to... The only reason you feel like you have to say this, and I'm just going to say this once, this doesn't have to be a huge thing. I know that people will get upset about this. The reason why you feel like you have to say that is because modern times, it's kind of flipped. It's turned from innocent until proven guilty to no. You're a dirtbag. You're guilty until you prove to me that you're innocent.
And then even half the time when you prove innocence.
And then they go, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You're a dirtbag. No, don't believe it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, mind you, I'm not going to dog on anyone who does that. I do the same thing. Or someone will be like, oh, like, this guy's innocent. I'm like, I don't believe it. Lies and slander. But, like, yeah, like, I definitely think it's something of, since he's not directly named, I think that's kind of part of the, like, oh, okay, like, you know, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Because, like, obviously, once it gets pushed into actual court, if it's not settled out of court, which then, obviously, I'm not looking forward to if it gets settled out of court, and I get to hear the non-stop barrage of, like, see, it didn't actually happen because they settled out of court, and it's like, that doesn't literally mean anything.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes, and that's where I just feel like if he's back, that may be a telling thing, because I don't know, like I said, if Emmanuel would let him back, but let's move away from WWE, Soapy. Let's end the show talking about AEW. Revolution happened. Sting's match. Best match of the night, right? So, right, Soapy? Best match of Revolution.
No, I mean, Osprey to catch to happen. Let's calm down here. Let's calm down here.
I had to throw that your way because I know how you felt match of the night was for Revolution.
Yeah. I mean, mind you, I still really thought the match was great. I do want to specify that. The Sting retirement match was great.
Darby Allin
if you cried
almost killing himself in the match.
Baby. Yeah. I still think people are crybabies.
Jack Perry punching air.
Yeah, Jack Perry's like, that's what I'm talking about, baby. Real glass.
But we're talking about Darby Allin because now it's official. Sting's retired. They said in the post-media scrum that the tag belts are going to be vacated. It's AEW, so there's got to be a tournament for the new ones.
There's got to be a tournament,
There's got to be a tournament, baby. Tournaments galore. You were telling me before the show, Darby's taking a leave of absence after the Jay White thing to climb Mount Everest?
Yeah, so that's the thing where, like, Darby
you just started smiling now because it's like, what, Darby's gonna climb Mount Everest?
Yeah, well, it's just because you never hear about people doing it anymore.
Because you could die.
I mean, you could still die, but like before it'd be like someone would go to do it and it's like, oh my god, guys, they're gonna climb Mount Everest. Now it's like, dude, no one cares, and I'm just like, wow, someone who's actually doing something that I watch is going to climb Mount Everest.
Oh
yeah. Darby had talked about, like, a couple months prior, like, that he was going to climb Mount Everest. So, like, he's kind of been prepping for it for months. Like, they even mentioned it a little bit on commentary when he had talked about, you know, dropping the titles. Because obviously, you know, for anyone who didn't see, like, what Darby's announcement was, I think it was last week when we were recording. I think when Darby came out, he was talking to Shivani. And he was like, oh, and Darby was like, oh, well, why don't I just pick someone to be my tag partner instead? He's like, oh, I could never replace Sting, which it's like, my heart.
My heart.
Yeah. But, and that's the thing. To me, like, I mean, also, mind you, it kind of put that, like, the sobering moment of even Darby's like, yeah, no, I could die up there. So he's like, if that's my last match, I'm fine with it. And it's like, all right, well, thanks, Darby.
It really put into perspective what he said after that match too. Of like, I said I'd die in your last match if I had to, but I'm not dead yet. I'm still breathing.
Yeah, where it's like, that's why it's just anytime when people talk about Darby, and I'm like, there is no person in wrestling right now who's crazier than Darby.
Yeah,
because, like, I mean, mind you, like,
it's like he watched Jeff Hardy and went. It's like he watched Jeff Hardy growing up and said, "Hold my beer." Hey, yeah, Jeff, hold my beer.
Straight edge. Hold my Gatorade. Since he's straight edge.
Yeah, I forgot. Hold my Gator. Hold my Pepsi.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, that's the thing of, it's definitely, yeah, so Darby had talked about for a while of, you know, taking a leave to go climb Mount Everest. And then kind of, you had the mixed crowd. And anyone who's online knows how I'm going to be completely honest how dumb some people are.
Yeah.
People are like, well, Darby doesn't have to go climb the mountain. It's like, yeah, no one held Darby at gunpoint and was like, that's it, Darby. Climb the mountain.
Climb the mountain or you're done. How
Yeah,
long
no
do you
one's
think it's
holding
going to be
Darby at
until
gunpoint.
he's back?
I don't know how long it takes to climb Mount Everest.
Google can probably help.
That's the only thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know it off the top of my head, and I don't really feel like pulling up another tab because I don't want to get flashbanged in the middle of the show.
Wow. As soon as I put in how long does it take to climb, the first one is Mount Everest.
Thanks, Google.
So by the way, quick aside, for those of you watching the podcast, you probably see me like scratching my nose a lot. You know what it feels like, Soapy? Like right here on my nose?
Oh.
It feels like I have a hair on it. And each time I do this to try to get the hair out, and then it feels like I have a hair just on, like not growing from my nose, just on my nose. And my fan is on, so it's like it feels like it gets blown, and then I go, ugh. The hike typically lasts 9 to 12 days, allowing adventurers to gradually adapt to the increasing altitude.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, because what? I don't know exactly when.
However, this says summiting Mount Everest 2 to 3 weeks, it says. So Yahoo says 9 to 12 days. The manual says 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's the part that I don't exactly know.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I mean, Darby could be like, we're doing it in one night, baby. If Darby did that, it'd be like, all right, Darby, calm down.
And then there's one here there's one here. Why does it take 2 months to climb Everest?
Yeah, so that's why, like, I'm going to assume Darby's going to try to do the faster ones. Because I know we at least somewhat know he's going with other professionals.
I would hope. He's just like, nah, I'll do it myself. I'll be back. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, I'm going up alone. If you don't hear about me in a month, you'll know why.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Be like, oh, God.
If that was the truth, I wouldn't be surprised.
We'll have to send the wrestling fandom to the Himalayas to go find them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Imagine you just have a bunch of people wearing like AEW themed winter gear, like, Darby, where are you?
So let's say it's a month he's gone. I'll ask you this: title scene in AEW, does anything change in a month?
I think there's a very good chance that Wardlow's champ.
So you think Samoa's not champ in a month?
Yeah, I think there's a chance Samoa Joe's not champ. I definitely think that there's. Like, I'd have to double check everything again.
You want me to read them off?
By then, yeah.
So AEW World Champion is Samoa Joe. You said you think he's not champ in a month?
Yeah, Wardlow will probably be champ because they're getting ready to do the whole thing with him and Adam Cole.
Christian Cage is the TNT champion.
I think there's a chance Christian's not, and it could be Edge because of what they're building up towards the Toronto show.
Mm-hmm. You have Roderick Strong, who won the International Championship at Revolution.
Yeah, Roddy will still be champ.
You got Eddie Kingston as the Continental Champion.
Who knows? I don't care about that belt anyways.
And then you got Hook as the FTW champion.
I mean, no one recognizes that belt anyways.
The rest of them I don't think really matter. Like, the only other one is the trios and the tag champs, which I don't think Darby goes for. But when Darby comes back in a month, is he instantly, like, put into, all right, let's build him up to be a then competitor for whoever the world champ is?
I definitely think there's a possibility. Especially because the fact of, like, I had made the joke before the show that there was a tweet that I had put in the Discord.
Yeah.
Where someone was like, Darby should plant an AEW flag at the top of Mount Everest and come back and be a champion. Because how do you one-up that? Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're not wrong, because, like, who else is going to be like, you know what, I'll climb Mount Everest.
Just like the Fiend belt, he comes back with an Everest belt.
Yeah. Everest peak champion.
Oh. They would just call it the peak.
Like, yeah. But, like, I think that there's definitely I think that he could be put into something with Wardlow right away.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because, I mean, it also really depends on how close Adam Cole is to being back.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously there's, like, the weird, like, middle ground thing of, like, if Wardlow's champion, how long is he champ before Adam Cole is healthy? And then they do that whole thing where he's supposed to hand the belt over. like it's that weird like middle ground
Mm-hmm.
of like when is that going to happen? Because if Darby comes back in the middle of that, he's not going to challenge Wardlow. Like if it's like we're still like a month or two out, I could see him coming back and being like, "Oh hey, I'll fight Wardlow. I'll lose, but I'll still come back and do it."
Mm-hmm.
I definitely could see him being TNT champion again though, especially just because like to me, I think Darby's a perfect mid card guy. Like I think, mind you, I hate using the pillars term because realistically, two of the four pillars are good. The other two stink.
Yeah. Well, what is it?
Because one of them is
MJF and
hell bent
Darby.
on killing Jeff Hardy.
MJF and Darby, Guevara and Jack Perry.
And then, yeah, and one of them stinking it up at New Japan, and the other one got indefinitely suspended because he almost killed Jeff Hardy.
Guevara's indefinitely suspended, and Jack Perry's in new. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got those references right.
Because it's so Sammy got suspended because in his match with Jeff, when he hit his I forget if like moonsault or whatever, he hit him with something. And aside from him just, messing up and just kneeing Jeff Hardy in the face on the way down.
Yeah.
Apparently Jeff was already in concussion protocol in the middle of the match.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, oh, well, he shouldn't have hit his move on him. Mind you, I will say, if that did happen in the middle of the match, the ref should be the main person who gets in trouble because he should have been like, no, like, we're not doing this. Especially because, I mean, if you see how bad he messes up, when he hits the move. Mostly because I made the joke in the Discord of like, Sammy is doing his best to kill one of the Hardys.
Yeah.
Like, he almost did it with Matt when he dropped him on his head in the concrete.
And
he's like, well, damn, I can't do it with him. I'll just get Jeff.
I'll just get Jeff. So, I'm going to fantasy book something really quick, Soapy. And you tell me how dumb this is.
Okay.
Ideally, you know what I would love to happen? So, basically, the amount of time I have to book beginning to end is when Darby comes back in a month. So, we'll say beginning of April, mid-April, all the way to the end of August. Basically, how I would do it is he comes in, he feuds with the Kingdom. Basically, the thing of like, he has some matches. It's like then gets into a feud with the Kingdom for Wardlow. I'm coming for your championship. Wardlow goes, no, you're not. You got to come through my dudes. Because without Cole, maybe like it's the Kingdom then is just Wardlow's thing. You got to come through my dudes. That eats up some time. At one of the pay-per-views over the summer, Darby wins the championship. We get the Summer of Darby. All in Wembley Stadium. Guess who comes back to challenge him?
Adam Cole.
You got my champ, bud.
All the way.
You get my champ, bud. One of the best feuds that Darby's been in? Let's just run it again.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
The only thing is, will MJF be ready or be back to AEW?
I was going to say,
is the bidding war still going on?
Well, it would also be absolute hell if he got healthy before Adam Cole did.
Yeah.
Like, imagine how absolutely in hell we'd all be. We'd be like, dude, no wonder the Devil storyline was never going to end. Adam Cole was permanently hurt.
Because I'll be honest, by the way, although this is me just fantasy fan booking, like I don't think that would happen. I will say I am standing on it that we don't see MJF for all of 2024. He ain't coming back. No matter where it is, it ain't going to be till 2025.
Yeah, I definitely think that he has already re-signed.
Mm-hmm.
I know MJF had been doing everything he could to avoid surgery, because if he got surgery, that would have taken him out for the whole year. I haven't heard any updates.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, I don't know MJF. Dude, I can't just call him and be like, hey, buddy.
By the way, I love it. I don't want to hear anything about him, because then when he returns, the shock value is going to be better. Because we're all just going to forget he exists.
Yeah. Like, to me, I definitely look at it as... I think that when Darby comes back, assuming he leaves like by the end of March, it's like he probably realistically it'll probably be like April that he leaves. So, like, but unrelative. Because I'm assuming when Darby comes back,
Mm-hmm.
Adam Cole will be healthy enough that they'll do the whole thing between him and Wardlow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Darby will either be the first challenger for Adam Cole or like one of the last challengers for Wardlow.
Okay. Do you think it's a foregone conclusion that Will Ospreay will be AEW champion by the end of All In?
Maybe. I don't think so. I think by sometime next year. The only problem is it's such like a weird mixture of where this is why I've talked about that AEW needs to start splitting their roster into individual shows.
Yeah.
And have a second main belt.
You know, like because, they have like, 3 right now, shows. Let's just split Collision and
I mean, get rid of get rid of Rampage. No one cares about that.
See, no, Rampage is they ideally what they could do if they wanted to is just make it Raw is Dynamite, SmackDown is Collision, your NXT type show is Rampage.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're at a point they don't really need an NXT type show, but obviously that could be a different topic for a different day. But like, have it to where it's like, okay, like if I tune in Wednesdays, I see Ospreay. If I tune in Saturdays, I see this person. Like, it's the only problem because right now it's that mixture of like, we're still waiting for Swerve to be champ. Because I mean, realistically, like, if he gets another match against whoever the champ is, he's probably not winning. And it's mostly just because the fact of, like, now we're getting into that point of, like, Adam Cole's coming back, and we have the whole story that's set up of where, like, Wardlow's going to win the belt off of whoever's the champ, to then hand the belt to Cole. If he does it or not, who knows? I'm predicting he's not going to.
Do you think they haven't done it because they would delude themselves? Where it's like, okay, now each show needs a champion, each show needs a women's champion, each show needs a tag team champion.
I think at this point, what I would do is I definitely think that they do need to start separating the roster into different shows. And they need to do that, like, okay, like have a second champion. I'd be completely honest, put Will Ospreay on Collision.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, like, one, we can do what AEW loves to do. Just tournaments out the wazoo, baby.
Yep.
We'll have a tournament to see who gets to be champion. Ospreay can be the inaugural champ for Collision, whatever they decide to call that belt. And then we have him run that one. And then it'd be like, I mean, one, it sounds bad on paper that Wardlow's then is the top guy for Dynamite. I mean, realistically, we know he's not the top guy. But, like, he's the placeholder on Dynamite until, like, the actual top guys come back. Whether you keep Okada on Dynamite, whether you keep, him on Collision, who knows? Don't put him on Rampage, please. I'm not tuning in to Rampage to watch Okada. But, like, I think it's very much that situation of right now the AEW main title scene is really packed, which is, like, it's a good problem to have. It's just the problem of, it's like, okay, we're waiting on them to pull the trigger on Swerve. Because realistically, I mean, everyone who is watching AEW is like, so when's Swerve going to be champ? Because we're all behind Swerve. We all love him. Because, I mean, there was a real, like, conversation that he was going to be champ at the end of Revolution.
Yeah.
Which, mind you, that's why, like, I was fully in on the fact of, like, yeah, if Hangman's not in the match, Swerve's winning.
Yeah.
Or I'm just like, right now, we're waiting for, like, okay, when do they do that with Swerve? Where now, it becomes a situation of, like, with Adam Cole getting ready to come back, with, like, if Darby comes back and he's put into the title scene, it's like, it kind of muddies the water more over, like, you have all of these guys going for the same thing.
You know what I kind of would, and this is just sparked in my head, you know what I would almost do with them if they did that? I would introduce a new belt. It would be a Collision mid-card belt. Darby would be the first guy to hold it in AEW Hardcore Championship. Because WWE doesn't have a Hardcore Championship anymore. And Darby Allin would be, like, he's basically the Crash Holly, the Mick Foley from the day of, like, yeah, this guy, like, you see him with a Hardcore Championship, I'd believe, yeah, that's a belt Darby Allin would hold.
Yeah. I mean, like, I definitely think it's the. It's like I said, like, I'm not meaning it at all in an offense when I say I think Darby's a perfect mid card guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, realistically, I don't think that's a slight. Like, I think
No.
people take, like, mid card and, like, main guy as, like, like, slights and not slight. Where it's like, no, Darby to me is the perfect mid card guy.
But
Where, like, he's a fan
Soapy,
favorite, everyone loves him.
is he just a B+ player?
That's not no, like, I think that he's the perfect mid card guy because the fans love him. Like, Darby's good enough on the mic, but, like, to me, like, I don't tune into shows just to see Darby.
Yeah.
Like, and like I said, I'm not meaning any of this as an insult, because you'll have some people be like, well, you don't think Darby's that good of a guy, you can't be, and you're gonna have those people come out of the woodwork. But, like, I don't view it as an insult to not be, like, the guy in a company where, like, realistically, it's also when you compare him to the other guys who are, like, the guys in the company, he's not a Will Ospreay.
No. Well,
he's not an MJF.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The way I see Darby is when because for the longest time he never talked or like rarely talked. It's one of those things when he does talk, I listen more because it's like, oh, this is important because he's actually talking. Usually Darby's the type of guy lets his actions do the talking.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like that. It's the weird, like, depending on the feud, he drops in and out of doing that. Because he had the whole thing with Jay White of where, one, I just love Jay White. Please, for the love of God, Tony Khan, you're not listening to this, but if you are, hi.
Hi.
But if you are, please stop the Bullet Club acclaim stuff. Please. Get him as far away from that as we can.
Soapy, quick aside, thoughts on Max Caster?
I mean,
seems like people are turning on him.
So it's mostly because Max Caster just can't shut up. It's not, mind you, like, I'm kind of in agreement in the sense of, like, when essentially the main reason people are turning on him, besides that one, his raps have stunk and he keeps forgetting them. I don't know if that's a storyline thing or not. But, like, he had a thing recently where, like, on Twitter, he was like, oh, like, there was the tweet about, like, oh, like, Shelton Benjamin may be working with AEW, and he's like, we don't need him.
Yeah.
And everyone got mad. Which, I mean, mind you, I love Shelton Benjamin as much as the next guy.
The way Jake told me about it was, he's like, we don't need him. And everyone was like, we don't need you.
Yeah.
Or like, we don't want him. We don't want you.
I mean, it's also the fact that realistically, like, when the Acclaimed were at, like, their absolute peak of being, like, stupidly popular, like, Max Caster was, like, still the second fiddle. Yeah. Because realistically, everyone loves Anthony Bowens. Like, it's almost impossible to hate Anthony Bowens just because of, like, one, he's just funny. I know, pardon my language, I know, shocker.
Is that only the second time you swore today?
No, I think I've done it more.
Okay. I don't think
it depends on where you draw the line on swearing.
I don't think I caught him as much. I don't think I heard it.
I've consciously cut back. As much as I'd love to, continue reigning on the throne of swearing in MVW. MVP.
Well, Soapy had that one episode, I'm king, did that, and then was like, I never have to do it again.
Yeah, flopped it on the table like, don't think you can outdo me, buddies.
I will take the product.
I came out. Yeah, I'm your swearing chief.
Your swearing chief.
No, like, I think it's just that whole thing with Max is kind of weird. Because then he did the whole thing on Twitter where he's like, oh, I was hacked, but I agree with what my hacker said. And it's like, I know they're trying to make him a bad guy.
I agree, like, even though I was hacked. Okay, yeah. Katie.
Like, mind you, I mean, realistically, he wasn't hacked. Yeah. Like, he's playing up to people, like, he's trying to get people to hate him, which, I mean, hey, it's working.
So you think they're going for a heel
also
turn?
At the same time, like, yeah. Well, because I think if I had to wildly guess, I think they're going to split the Acclaimed up.
Okay.
And, like, as much as I hate it, I think Max Caster's going to end up joining Bullet Club.
Okay.
I don't want him to. Like, can we get one other serious member in Bullet Club. Please, Jay White cannot be the only one. Please. I'm that serious. Look at the rest of that group.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Guns who constantly make jokes.
Yeah.
Juice is a thing himself. I did it again. But just Juice as a whole. No, is Juice.
Yeah.
And you have Jay White.
Oh.
Like, can we get one serious person aside from Jay White?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know we want to have it that it's like, oh, Bullet Club Gold's the funny one, blah, 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 blah. No. Stop. All right? Knock it off. Stop putting the funny people in the group.
Bullet Club shouldn't be funny, shouldn't it? Shouldn't it be serious?
Like, it's the mixture of Bullet Club can be funny because parts of Bullet Club were funny in New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the most popular clips of them is like when Maria Kanellis, I forget what name she uses on the Indies, if that's not the name she uses, where she was dancing on the ring apron and Carl Anderson's dancing along with her and AJ starts getting really pissed off at him. Like, mind you, this is also in the middle of the My Hot Asian Wife era.
Yeah.
So, like, it can be funny. The problem is Bullet Club Gold leans too much into that comedy aspect to where I just look at it from like Jay White sticks out like such a sore thumb in this group.
Mm-hmm.
Because like anytime he's in a match, he's dead serious. Like he'll crack jokes. Like early on, Bullet Club Gold, I didn't mind. Like when it was just him and Juice, I was like, okay, I'm like, that's fine. Like you have the funny guy and the straight guy. Of like he plays the straight guy to Juice's comedy act, which fine. But then it's like you add the Guns in, and like the first little bit of it was fine. I still don't like the Guns, but like you add it to where like Jay White wasn't on TV because he was doing stuff in New Japan still. So they were like, oh, like we have Card Blade where he'd come out with like they'd come out with the cardboard cutout of Jay White.
Yeah,
it was like okay, that's funny. And then when Jay White came back, it was just they kept doing it, and I'm like, guys. Can we, like, steer a little bit to being serious?
You're like, okay, I have my laughs. Now I want to have my serious time.
Yeah. Well, because it's also, that's when we steered into the, like, Jay White MJF match, which, one, I think the build to that was bad.
Yeah.
Like, I fully agree with Jay White on that the build wasn't great.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, it also doesn't help that they had the whole Juice Robinson thing happen then.
Mm-hmm.
Of where, you know, mind you, Juice using the coins has been a thing for a while.
Yeah.
It's just not a very good idea when you have a person who's very openly Jewish, and the first thing you have Juice do in the company with his coins is use his coins against an openly Jewish wrestler.
Yeah.
So maybe, just maybe,
awareness.
Establish that he does that stuff with the coins first, so that we're not like, oh, we're just being anti-Semitic now.
Yeah. You got to introduce a mainstream crowd to a non-mainstream thing.
Yeah, because
not everyone watches New Japan.
Yeah, well, I mean, even just the fact of, like, not everyone knew he did it. Because, like, once you hear the context, it's like, okay, it's not as bad. But then it's like, to the people who don't know the context, they don't care about the context. They don't want to know the context of why someone just showed pennies to a Jewish man. And we're like, guys, look, he's not actually anti-Semitic. He used to do this before.
It's okay, guys. It's okay. I swear.
It's not problematic, guys. It's not problematic. He did it before.
It's fake. It's fake.
Yeah. Oh, we gotta use the old head wrestling thing. Guys, he's a heel. He's supposed to do that.
He's a heel. He's supposed to do that.
No, like, I definitely think with the Max Caster stuff, to bring it back to that, so I stopped going on a wild rant about something that has nothing to do with Max.
I'm just letting you go, dude. End of the show. Just letting you go.
Definitely think it's something that, to be honest, I do think they're going to split the Acclaimed up. I mean, mostly just because Max, when he was on fire, was really good.
Yeah.
Like, he was really entertaining. Like, a lot of those raps are funny. It's also just the fact of, realistically, he keeps going for the shock value, which, I mean, hey, you do you.
Yeah.
But, like, there's at a point of where it's like, okay, no, people are starting to kind of get tired of the shock value thing. Because, you know, yeah, I mean, especially, you know, the main time that everyone was like, okay, Max, that's a little too far. was when he was on the indie event and one of his raps contained stuff talking about Vince McMahon.
Yeah, saw that.
Directly after the Vince allegations came out.
Saw that.
And he's like, I'm going to do to you like what they did, or what Vince McMahon did with her. And I'm just like, all right, no, like, Max, there is a line.
Yeah,
where, like,
and
it's
he
okay
just
to
springboard across it.
Yeah, that wasn't even like, oh, I'm feeling the line out. He's like, just kick the line in the sand. He's like, I'm going through it anyways. What are you gonna do about it? It's like,
he didn't even care about the line at all. Didn't even care if it was there.
Yeah, to where I definitely think that they're gonna lead towards them breaking up. Because I know there's also rumors of one of the Guns leaving Bullet Club, which, to be completely honest, just kick them both out.
You really don't like the Guns, do you?
I don't. I've never been a fan of the Guns. I just don't find them entertaining.
The Gun Club.
Like, it's mostly just because, to be honest, I don't care about them because I don't really care for their dad either.
You take that back, like, about daddy ass.
Look, I appreciate Daddy Ass as the second best member
Daddy
of the
Ass.
Acclaimed. Like, I appreciate, Daddy Ass for what he is.
Yeah, that's a sound. That's a sound on the podcast.
You don't have to make that face while doing that. That was uncomfortable.
I don't even know what face I made.
You're like, you like scrunched your face up like. You're getting a little too into it. I got a little scared.
Oh, go on. I'm just going to hide myself for the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something of... I think one of the main things that they need to do, especially with Max, it's recontextualize what he talks about.
Mm-hmm.
Because realistically, the fact of, like, we're starting to notice this shift in AEW's fan base of... They're not appreciative a lot of the shock value stuff anymore.
They're more intellectual now.
Well, no, I'm not even doing that to be like we're so much better than you.
We're the smart AEW crowd. We like sophisticated wrestling.
Yeah. Like, and what I mean by it is, like, for instance, we started noticing it when MJF stopped, like, when he started, like, being, like, that was his whole thing he was doing for a while, like, people were like, oh, that's funny. Okay, well, what else?
Yeah.
And then now it's, like, you're kind of noticing that shift of, like, people are like, okay, like, I appreciate the shock value stuff, it's, like, cool for 5 seconds, like, what else do we got? Because, like, it feels like, to me, Max Caster is stuck in that kind of, like, oh, like, I say the shock value because it gets people talking about me, which, mind you, fair. Any publicity is good publicity in some cases. Some people need to understand that's not always the case. But I definitely think with Max Caster, they definitely need to start having him just actually write his raps.
Yeah.
Like I said, obviously, I have a feeling that they're doing that as a storyline thing, that he's messing up.
Yeah, I hope it's that and him not actually messing up.
Yeah. I mean, I also don't want him to join Bullet Club. I know that's where it's... I know that's where it's going to lead. Yeah, sorry. I like half burped, and I didn't know if it got picked up in the mic or not.
Oh, it did.
But, like, that's the thing. It's just, I don't want another person who's a comedy act being put into a group of comedy acts.
Yeah.
Because then I know it's going to lead to just Jay White having to be stuck being a comedy guy. And it's like, guys, like, mind you, the people that I see and I use the phrase very, very strictly here, glazing the living hell out of Jay White, and they're like, the best modern heel. Like, okay, calm down.
The best modern heel.
It's like, we're not going to pull
The Rock exists right now, right?
Well, also the fact of Rock, MJF, Roman,
Rhea,
literally anyone else. Like, I know, like, mind you, I'm not turned on him. Like, I'm not turned on Jay White. Like, I still love him. I'm really happy he signed with the company. Let's not do this like, guys, he was the best heel in wrestling. No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was not the best heel in wrestling. He may have been the best heel in New Japan. Cool. Golf claps. Golf claps for being the best heel in New Japan. Shocker. Yeah. I mean, you're competing with Evil, a group or you're competing with the House of Torture, which is literal torture watching them.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Well, but Soapy, that's going to do it for Heel Time. The only, or Heel Time.
Heel time.
It's been a day. So here's the reason why this might seem like an abrupt cut. There is a thing behind the scenes that most people don't know about that I found out about from our first episode. If we go over 1 hour and 20 minutes, Soapy, I have to cut the podcast into 2 parts on Spotify and Apple.
I mean, fair.
And this has been a long boy for you guys. So let us know what you guys think down below about anything we talked about. Maxine Debris, Brock, Darby Allin, AEW in general, as we kind of went off on the Max Caster, Jay White stuff at the end. Hit that like button, that sub button, join the Discord down below. Support us on Patreon. That is also in the description with the Discord. Soapy, thank you for joining me again, brother, for another week of wrestling talk.
No problem. It's always fun to be around.
We'll be back in Dos Mano? No, Manos is hands. Is it Man? Oh, what's weeks?
We're back in 2 hands.
We'll be back in 2 hands. I think it's like, Mananas? 2 mananas?
I don't know.
2 weeks.
I'm too unseasoned chicken to understand what's happening.
We'll be back in 2 weeks talking more wrestling. Thank you guys for everything you do. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
As always, we'd like to thank the people who make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you'd like to become a patron, click the link in the description below. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Entertainment, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.